He stood on the sidewalk trembling, gripping the handlebars of his old bicycle like it was the last thing keeping him alive. His lips were dry, his eyes red, but his voice still carried hope as he looked up at the stranger walking by and whispered, "Please, sir, buy my bicycle. My mom hasn't eaten in 2 days. If you're here, you care about stories that matter, stories about real people and real hearts. Make sure you join us, subscribe, and stay with us because what you are about to hear will stay with you long after this video ends." His name was Alex. He was just 12 years old, but life had forced him to grow up faster than any child should. His bicycle wasn't just a toy, it was his freedom, his joy, his one escape from the heaviness he carried. But hunger can turn even the happiest treasures into a painful burden. It all started a week earlier. The doctor had delivered news that hit like a punch. Alex's mother's chronic condition had worsened, and she could no longer work at the small bakery where she spent most of her life kneading dough and smiling through exhaustion. Without her job, the bills piled up like a tower built on sand. Their electricity was cut. Their fridge was empty, except for a carton of milk that expired 3 days ago and half a loaf of stale bread. At first, Alex tried to stay optimistic. He told his mom he wasn't hungry, told her he ate at school, told her he felt full. But mothers, they know the truth. And as she grew weaker, the guilt inside him grew heavier. One night, Alex woke up to the sound of quiet sobbing. He saw her sitting on the cold floor, clutching her stomach, trying to muffle her pain so he wouldn't wake up. That was the moment something snapped inside him. He couldn't just watch anymore. He had to do something. The next morning, he pedaled across town with determination burning stronger than hunger. He tried selling candy outside stores, shining shoes outside the train station, even collecting bottles for recycling. But each time, the money wasn't enough, and the hunger only grew. So on this day, the day everything would change, he stood with his bicycle, the only thing left worth selling, and hoped someone would care. The stranger he approached was named David, a businessman who always moved fast, always checked his watch, always had somewhere more important to be. When Alex first asked him to buy the bicycle, David barely stopped. He muttered something like "not interested" and started walking away. But a few steps later, he paused. Something about the boy's voice echoed in his mind. Maybe it was the desperation. Maybe the innocence, maybe fate tugged at him. He turned around. "What did you say?" he asked. Alex swallowed hard. "Please, buy my bicycle. My mom hasn't eaten in 2 days." David stared. The bicycle was old rust on the wheels, a torn seat, faded paint. Even brand new, it wouldn't have been expensive. "How much?" David asked. Alex hesitated. "Just enough to buy groceries, maybe some medicine." David could have opened his wallet right then. He could have handed the boy money and walked away a hero. But life isn't always that simple. Doubt creeps in, fear whispers. Scams exist everywhere. "How do I know you're not lying to me?" David asked. Alex lowered his gaze. He didn't argue, didn't defend himself. He simply rested his forehead against the bike's handlebars and whispered, "Please, it wasn't a performance. It wasn't manipulation. It was a boy breaking." David's heart tightened. He sighed and said, "Show me where you live." Alex nodded quickly, afraid the man would change his mind. He led him through back streets, past rundown buildings, to a tiny apartment complex where the paint peeled off like old skin. The elevator was broken, so they climbed the stairs. When they reached the door, Alex froze. Inside, his mother lay weakly on a thin mattress, her skin pale, eyes closed, breath shallow. She didn't even notice they walked in. David felt something inside him collapse. This wasn't a scam. This was survival. "How long has she been like this?" he asked, voice trembling. 2 days, Alex murmured. "She gave me her last food. She always does." David rushed to call an ambulance. His hands shook as he spoke to the operator. While they waited, he knelt beside Alex's mother and gently checked her pulse. She was alive, but barely. As the ambulance sirens approached, neighbors peeked from their doors, curiosity mixing with concern. Paramedics burst in and lifted her onto a stretcher. Alex tried to follow, but one of them stopped him, saying they needed space. Panic filled his eyes. He clung to David's jacket. "Don't let them take her alone." David placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "I'm coming with you. I promise." At the hospital, time moved strangely. Hours felt like days. Doctors worked to stabilize her. They asked questions Alex didn't know how to answer. Insurance? Paperwork? Emergency contact? David stepped forward and handled everything. Finally, the doctor emerged. "She will recover," he said, "but she needs proper nutrition and medication. And rest." Alex burst into tears-relief tears that soaked his hands as he covered his face. David took him into a quiet hallway. "Why didn't you ask someone for help?" he asked. Alex shook his head. "People have their own problems. We didn't want to bother anyone." That answer hurt deeper than any hunger. Over the next week, David visited every day. He brought food not just for Alex, but for the entire floor: sandwiches, fruit, warm meals. He talked to social workers, arranged support, and even helped fix the apartment's electricity bill. He had money, yes, but beyond that, he had heart. Alex's mother woke on the fourth day. When she saw her son and the stranger beside him, she tried to sit up, but David gently stopped her. "You're safe now," he said. "Focus on getting better." She looked at her son, eyes full of gratitude and guilt. "You sold your bicycle?" she asked. Alex slowly nodded. "Ah, had to. You needed food." Before she could speak further, David interrupted. "Actually, I didn't buy it yet. I told him he might still need it." He smiled softly. Alex's mother cried thankful tears, proud tears, tears that washed away days of fear. But the story doesn't end there, because fate wasn't done surprising them. One morning, a well-dressed woman entered the room. She introduced herself as Rachel, David's wife. She carried a briefcase and a look of deep admiration. "My husband told me everything," she said. "He believes in helping people who help themselves. And your son, he's extraordinary." She opened the briefcase and handed papers to Alex's mother, documents offering a full-time housekeeper position in their home. Good salary, health benefits, stability. Alex's mother couldn't believe it. Her hand shook as she held the papers. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say yes," Rachel replied gently. "You've worked hard your whole life. Let us give you a chance to live without fear." And she accepted. Weeks later, their lives looked completely different. The electricity was always on. The fridge was full. Alex could finally be a kid again. One afternoon, David knocked on their door with a surprise hidden behind him. Alex opened it and gasped. It was a bicycle, not his old rusty one. A brand new, beautiful bike with shiny wheels and a perfect seat. "But I didn't pay for it," Alex said. "You paid in love," David answered. "You paid in courage. You paid in the greatest currency on earth: sacrifice." Alex hugged him with all the strength in his small body. But the biggest twist was still coming. A charity organization heard about the story through the hospital. A local news channel wanted to share it. Donations poured in from strangers who were moved by a boy's love for his mother. Enough money to give them not just survival, but a future. Alex's mother eventually opened her own home bakery, a dream she once let die under the weight of poverty. Every pastry she sold tasted of gratitude. Customers came from far and wide, not just for the bread, but for the story of the boy who tried to sell his childhood to save his mother's life. Alex often rode his new bicycle around the neighborhood, wind rushing past him, laughter echoing through the streets. He wasn't escaping hunger anymore. He was chasing dreams. And David, he didn't just save a family, they saved him too. He realized that his success wasn't measured by the weight of his wallet, but by the weight of his kindness. He spent more time with his family, more time helping others, more time living instead of rushing. Every time he saw Alex riding freely, he couldn't help but smile and whisper, "Thank you for stopping me that day." Because sometimes the smallest voice on a sidewalk can lead to the biggest change in a heart. And now, their story is in your hands. You heard it. You felt it. You carry it forward. Maybe one day, if you see someone standing alone, holding on to the last thing they have left, you'll remember Alex. And maybe you'll stop. Before we finish, I want to ask you something important. Tell me down in the comments.